The rain pounded the pavement, each drop a hammer striking Ethan's heart. He stood frozen in the alley, the world blurring as the man he loved slipped away again, swallowed by the crowd. This was the 100th time or was it the 1,000th? And still, Ethan couldn't break the cycle. Ethan, 25, was no stranger to loss. Growing up in a small Ohio town, he'd learned early to hide who he was, a gay kid in a place where love like his was whispered about in shadows. He'd fled to Chicago 3 years ago, chasing freedom, only to find himself trapped in a nightmare. Every day repeated, the same coffee shop, the same fleeting glance from Caleb, the same spark of hope, and the same crushing end where Caleb forgot him. Ethan remembered every loop, every word, every touch. But Caleb woke each morning with a blank slate, unaware of the love they'd built in Ethan's mind over countless cycles. Today, like always, Ethan woke in his cramped apartment, the clock blinking 6 a.m. He stumbled to the mirror, his dark brown eyes hollow, his short black hair a mess. Not again, he whispered, voice cracking. He knew the routine. He'd walk to Brood Awakening, order a black coffee, and see Caleb, 26, behind the counter, his blonde hair catching the morning light, his smile warm but fleeting. Ethan would try to talk, to connect, but by nightfall, a car, a fall, a random accident would reset the day, and Caleb would forget. This morning, Ethan sat at the counter, heart racing. Caleb's green eyes flicked up, and for a moment, Ethan swore he saw recognition. Regular coffee, right? Caleb asked, his voice soft, almost tender. Ethan nodded, throat tight. He wanted to scream. You loved me yesterday. You promised we'd run away together. But he didn't. He'd tried that in loop 47, and Caleb had looked at him like he was crazy. Instead, Ethan leaned forward. You ever feel like you're stuck? Like life's on repeat? Caleb paused, mid-pour, and frowned. Sometimes. Like I'm missing something. Ethan's heart leapt. Was this a crack in the loop? He scribbled his number on a napkin, sliding it across. Call me if you figure it out. Caleb pocketed it, but Ethan knew better than to hope. By tonight, the napkin would be gone, reset with the day. The hours ticked by. Ethan wandered Chicago's streets, the city alive with honking cabs and bustling crowds. He passed the Art Institute, where he and Caleb had once spent a loop laughing at abstract paintings. He lingered by Lake Michigan, where Caleb had kissed him in loop 83, whispering, I could love you forever. But forever never came. Ethan's chest ached with the weight of memories only he carried. By evening, he found himself back in the alley where it always ended. Caleb was there, like clockwork, heading home from his shift. Ethan called out, Caleb, wait. Caleb turned, confused but curious. Ethan rushed forward, words tumbling out. You don't know me, but I know you. We're trapped, and I'm trying to save us. Caleb's brow furrowed, but before he could speak, headlights flared. A car swerved, tires screeching. Ethan lunged, shoving Caleb out of the way, but the impact hit him instead. Pain exploded, then darkness. He woke at 6 a.m. Again. The loop held him like a vice. But this time, something was different. When Ethan reached the coffee shop, Caleb's eyes lingered longer, his smile hesitant. You okay? Caleb asked, unprompted. Ethan froze. Was Caleb starting to remember? Hope flickered, fragile but fierce. He had to keep trying. For Caleb. For them. The day unfolded with agonizing familiarity, but Ethan clung to that spark. He memorized Caleb's every word, every glance, searching for signs the loop was weakening. At noon, they talked longer than usual. Caleb laughing about a book he'd read. Ethan seized the moment, suggesting they grab lunch. Caleb hesitated, then agreed. They sat at a diner, Caleb's easy charm pulling Ethan in, even as he braced for the inevitable reset. By night, the alley loomed again. Ethan's pulse raced as he followed Caleb, determined to change the ending. Caleb, listen, he said, grabbing his arm. You have to trust me. We're stuck in a loop, and I can't lose you again. Caleb's eyes widened, not with fear, but with something else: recognition. Ethan, he whispered, the first time he'd said Ethan's name unprompted. Ethan's heart stopped. But before he could speak, the car appeared, headlights blinding. Ethan braced for the crash, but Caleb grabbed him, pulling him back. They fell together, safe, as the car sped past. You remembered, Ethan gasped, tears streaming. Caleb's face was pale, his grip tight. I don't know how, but I think I've dreamed of you. The loop hadn't broken, but for the first time, Ethan wasn't alone in it. Caleb remembered something. It was enough to keep fighting. The morning reset, but Ethan's hope burned brighter. Caleb's fleeting memory from the last lupo whispered, Ethan. A dream he couldn't explain was a crack in the cycle's iron grip. Ethan woke at 6 a.m. The familiar ache in his chest now laced with purpose. He had to nurture that spark, to make Caleb remember more. At Brood Awakening, Caleb's smile was different, tentative, searching. You're back, he said, sliding Ethan's coffee across the counter. Ethan's breath caught. You say that like you expected me. Caleb shrugged, but his eyes lingered, as if piecing together a puzzle. Ethan leaned in, voice low. You ever get déjà vu? Like you've lived this day before? Caleb's hand froze on the coffee machine. All the time, he murmured. Ethan's pulse quickened. He scribbled a note. Meet me at Millennium Park. 2 p.m. Caleb pocketed it, his fingers brushing Ethan's, sending a jolt through him. Ethan spent the morning restless, replaying every loop where Caleb had come close to remembering. In loop 12, Caleb had sketched Ethan's face on a napkin, saying it felt familiar. In loop 76, he'd hummed a song they'd danced to in a bar. Each time, the reset erased it. But now, Caleb's dreams were bleeding through. Ethan had to push harder, make this loop count. At Millennium Park, Caleb showed up, his blonde hair tousled by the wind. I don't know why I'm here, he admitted, sitting on a bench by the bean. Ethan sat close, their knees brushing. Because you feel it too, Ethan said. We're connected, Caleb. I know it sounds crazy, but we've done this before. Caleb's brow furrowed, but he didn't pull away. They talked for hours about Caleb's dream of opening an art gallery, about Ethan's love for poetry. Ethan recited a line from Whitman, and Caleb's eyes lit up. I know that poem, he said, voice soft. How do I know it? Ethan's heart soared. He wanted to tell Caleb everything: the loops, the love, the pain, but he held back. Too much, too soon, had broken loops before. Instead, he suggested a walk by the lake. As they strolled, Caleb's laughter felt like a lifeline. Ethan stole glances, memorizing the way Caleb's green eyes caught the sunlight. For a moment, the loop felt like a gift, not a curse. But night crept closer, and dread settled in Ethan's gut. The alley waited, as it always did. He tried to steer Caleb away, suggesting a different route, but Caleb insisted on his usual path. It's faster, he said, oblivious to the danger. Ethan's hands shook as they neared the alley. He couldn't lose Caleb again, not when they were so close. Caleb, please, Ethan said, voice breaking. Stay with me tonight. Don't go this way. Caleb stopped, his expression torn. You're freaking me out, man. But I trust you. Ethan's relief was short-lived. Headlights flashed, the same car roaring toward them. Ethan shoved Caleb aside, bracing for impact. But this time, Caleb lunged back, grabbing Ethan's jacket. They stumbled together, hitting the pavement hard but alive. You okay? Caleb panted, his hand still on Ethan. Ethan nodded, tears stinging. You saved me. Caleb's face was a mix of fear and wonder. I don't know why, but I couldn't let you go. They sat there, rain soaking them, as Caleb's words hung heavy. I've seen this alley before. In my dreams. You're always there, Ethan. Ethan's heart shattered and mended in the same breath. Caleb was remembering not just fragments, but him. The loop reset at 6 a.m. But Ethan woke with a fire in his chest. Caleb was breaking through. Today, he'd push harder, make Caleb see the truth. At the coffee shop, Caleb's greeting was warmer, his eyes brighter. You're starting to feel like home, Caleb said, half laughing. Ethan's smile hid his fear. Home was fragile when tomorrow could erase it. Ethan woke to the same gray dawn. But Caleb's words from the last loop, you're starting to feel like home, echoed like a promise. He clung to them, a lifeline in the endless cycle. Today, he'd build on that connection, make Caleb's memories stick before the loop tore them apart again. At Brood Awakening, Caleb's smile was unguarded, his green eyes locking onto Ethan's with an intensity that felt new. You're early, Caleb teased, handing over the coffee. Ethan seized the moment. Want to ditch work? Spend the day with me. Caleb hesitated, glancing at the clock. Your trouble, he said, but he grinned and called his coworker to cover his shift. Ethan's heart raced. This was uncharted territory. They wandered Chicago, from the vibrant chaos of Wicker Park to the quiet paths of Lincoln Park Zoo. Caleb opened up, sharing stories of his childhood in Oregon, how he'd come out at 18 and left home to find himself. Ethan listened, aching to share his own truth, but knowing the loop's rules. Instead, he mirrored Caleb's openness, talking about his own escape from Ohio, the weight of hiding who he was. Caleb's hand brushed his, lingering. You get it, Caleb said softly. Not many people do. By afternoon, they sat on a pier, the lake stretching endless before them. Ethan took a risk. Caleb, do you ever feel like you're reliving the same day? Caleb's laugh was nervous. You keep asking that. It's weird. I do. Like I'm stuck. But you're the only thing that feels real. Ethan's breath hitched. He reached for Caleb's hand, and Caleb didn't pull away. Their fingers laced. And for a moment, the loop felt distant, conquerable. But the alley loomed in Ethan's mind. He tried to keep Caleb away, suggesting a bar, a movie, anything. Caleb, stubborn as ever, headed toward his usual route. It's just a shortcut, he said. Ethan's stomach churned. He grabbed Caleb's arm. Please. I can't explain, but you have to trust me. Caleb's eyes searched his, and he nodded. They took a different path, Ethan's heart pounding with fragile hope. They ended up at a small diner, sharing fries and stories under fluorescent lights. Caleb leaned closer, his voice low. I keep dreaming about you, Ethan. We're in an alley, and I'm scared, but you're there. Ethan's throat tightened. What happens in the dream? Caleb's gaze dropped. You save me. Every time. Ethan wanted to cry, to tell Caleb it wasn't a dream, but he held back. Instead, he squeezed Caleb's hand. I'll always save you. Night fell, and Ethan braced for the reset. They walked together, avoiding the alley, but the loop's pull was relentless. A car swerved from nowhere, Headlights blinding. Ethan shouted, pulling Caleb back. But the impact came sharp. Brutal. Darkness swallowed him. He woke at 6 a.m. The loop unbroken. But Caleb's dreams were growing stronger, his memories clawing through. At the coffee shop, Caleb's first words stopped Ethan cold. "I dreamed we were holding hands by the lake," he said, blushing. Ethan's hopes surged. The loop was cracking, and Caleb was the key. Today, Ethan would push further, make Caleb see the truth, no matter the cost. Ethan's eyes snapped open at 6 a.m. Caleb's dream confession ringing in his ears. The loop held tight, but Caleb's memories holding hands by the lake. The alley, Ethan saving him, were piercing the veil. Ethan had to make this loop the one that broke the cycle, or he'd lose his mind to the endless repetition. At Brood Awakening, Caleb's face lit up when Ethan walked in. "You again," he said, voice warm. "I dreamed about you last night." "We were close." Ethan's heart pounded. "Tell me about it," he urged, leaning over the counter. Caleb described the pier, the lake, their hands entwined, his voice shy but certain. Ethan seized the chance. "Let's make it real. Skip work. Come with me." Caleb didn't hesitate this time, calling out to his coworker and grabbing his jacket. They retraced yesterday's steps, but Ethan pushed deeper. At the pier, he didn't hold back. "Caleb, you're remembering things because they happened. We're stuck in a loop, reliving the same day. I've loved you for what feels like years." Caleb's eyes widened, but he didn't run. "That's insane," he whispered. "But why does it feel true?" Ethan's chest ached. He told Caleb about the loops, the alley, the accidents. Caleb listened, his face a mix of doubt and trust. They spent the day together, every moment electric. Caleb laughed at Ethan's terrible puns, shared his sketchbook filled with drawings of Chicago's skyline. Ethan memorized every detail, terrified it would vanish. As evening fell, he steered Caleb away from the alley, suggesting a rooftop bar. Caleb agreed, but the loop's pull was strong. They ended up near the alley anyway, drawn by some invisible force. "Caleb, we can't go that way," Ethan pleaded, his voice raw. Caleb frowned. "You keep saying that." "Why?" Ethan took a breath, spilling everything: the car, the resets, the pain of watching Caleb forget. Caleb's face paled. "I've dreamed that car," he said. "And you, saving me." Ethan grabbed his hands. "Then believe me. Stay with me." Caleb nodded, his grip tight. They ducked into a nearby cafe, the warmth a stark contrast to the cold dread in Ethan's gut. Caleb's eyes were intense. "If this is a loop, how do we break it?" Ethan shook his head. "I don't know. But you remembering is the first step." Caleb leaned closer, his breath warm. "Then I'll keep trying to remember you." Their lips met, a kiss that felt like defiance against the loop's cruelty. Ethan's heart soared, but fear lingered. The loop wasn't done with them. As midnight neared, Ethan braced for the reset. They stayed in the cafe, holding hands, talking until their voices were hoarse. But the loop struck anyway, a power surge, a falling light fixture, darkness. Ethan woke at 6 a.m. Alone. Yet Caleb's kiss lingered, a promise that he was closer to breaking through. Today, Ethan would fight harder, love fiercer, to make Caleb's memories permanent. The loop reset, but Ethan woke with Caleb's kiss burning on his lips. The memory of Caleb's growing awareness, his dreams. His trust fueled Ethan's resolve. Today, he'd push the boundaries, force the loop to bend, and make Caleb's memories unbreakable. At Brood Awakening, Caleb's greeting was different, almost knowing. You're not just here for coffee, are you? He said, his green eyes searching. Ethan's heart leapt. You tell me, he replied, sliding a note. Meet me at the pier. Noon. Caleb nodded, his fingers lingering on the paper. Ethan felt the shift. Caleb was holding onto pieces of the past loops, even if he didn't fully understand. At the pier, Caleb arrived, his sketchbook tucked under his arm. I drew you last night, he said, showing Ethan a sketch of his face, eyes full of longing. Ethan's throat tightened. You're remembering more, he said, voice soft. Caleb frowned. It's like I've lived this before. You. This pier. That alley. Ethan took the leap. You have. We're trapped in a time loop. Caleb. I've loved you through hundreds of them. Caleb's breath hitched, but he didn't pull away. Tell me everything, he said. Ethan poured out the truth, the loops, the accidents, the love that kept him fighting. Caleb listened, his face a storm of emotions. I don't know if I believe it, he said, but I feel you. Like you're part of me. They sat close, the lake's waves a steady rhythm. Ethan traced Caleb's hand, memorizing the warmth. We have to break this, he said. You're the key. Caleb nodded, resolute. Then let's do it together. They spent the day defying the loop's rhythm. They avoided the usual places, wandering instead to a quiet bookstore, where Caleb read poetry aloud, his voice wrapping around Ethan like a lifeline. They shared a stolen kiss in the stacks, the world fading away. But the loop's shadow lingered. As night fell, Ethan's dread grew. The alley was coming, whether they wanted it or not. Caleb, we need to stay safe, Ethan said, leading him toward a crowded plaza. But Caleb stopped, his face pale. I know this feeling, he said. The alley. It's where it always ends, isn't it? Ethan nodded, tears stinging. Caleb grabbed his hand. Then let's face it. Together. Ethan's heart pounded, but he agreed. They walked to the alley, hand in hand, defiance burning in their chests. The car came, as always, headlights glaring. But this time, Caleb moved first, pulling Ethan out of the way. They fell together, safe, as the car roared past. Caleb's eyes were wide, his breath ragged. I remembered. He gasped. I knew it was coming. Ethan clung to him, hope and fear colliding. The loop hadn't broken, but Caleb's memory was stronger. They were close, so close. Ethan woke at 6 a.m. The loop's grip unyielding, but Caleb's memory of the alley felt like a victory. He was remembering more each time, his mind fighting the reset. Ethan had to make this loop count, to push Caleb's awareness until the cycle shattered. At the coffee shop, Caleb's eyes lit up when Ethan walked in. I knew you'd come, he said, voice certain. Ethan's hope surged. You're starting to get it, he said, leaning close. We're stuck, Caleb. But you're breaking through. Caleb's brow furrowed, but he nodded. I dreamed about the alley again. You saved me, but this time, I saved you. Ethan's heart raced. He suggested they skip the usual routine, and Caleb agreed, closing the shop early. They wandered to a rooftop garden, the city sprawling below. Caleb opened up, sharing fears he'd never voiced before, how he'd always felt like he was searching for something. Someone. Ethan took his hand. It's me, he said. We've been finding each other every day, and I won't stop until we're free. Caleb's eyes softened, and he leaned in, kissing Ethan with a fierceness that felt like a promise. I'm starting to believe you, he whispered. They spent the day building memories, each moment a brick in the wall against the loop. Caleb sketched Ethan under the sun, his pencil capturing every line of his face. Ethan recited poetry, And Caleb joined in, reciting lines he shouldn't know. How do I know this? Caleb asked, awed. Ethan smiled. Because you've heard it before. In another loop. Caleb's laugh was shaky but real. You're making me believe in the impossible. As night approached, Ethan's fear returned. The alley was inevitable, but Caleb's growing memory gave him hope. They avoided their usual paths, choosing a quiet street instead. But the loop's pull was relentless. A car swerved toward them, headlights blinding. Caleb reacted first, shoving Ethan aside. They hit the ground. Safe. But Ethan's heart pounded. You knew, he said, gripping Caleb's shoulders. Caleb nodded, his face pale. I saw it coming. Like I've lived it. They sat in the rain, catching their breath. Caleb's voice was steady. If we're stuck, we need to face it. The alley. The carrot's where it ends. Right. Ethan nodded, dread mixing with hope. Then let's go there, Caleb said. Let's end it on our terms. Ethan's chest tightened, but he agreed. They walked to the alley, hand in hand, ready to fight the loop together. The car came, as always, but this time, they moved as one, dodging it with seconds to spare. Caleb's grip on Ethan's hand was iron. I remember, he said, tears in his eyes. I remember you, Ethan. The loop reset, but Caleb's words carried through, a beacon in the darkness. Ethan woke, determined to make this the final loop. Ethan woke at 6 a.m. Caleb's tearful, I remember, echoing in his soul. The loop was weakening, Caleb's memories growing stronger, but the cycle still held them captive. Today, Ethan would fight with everything he had to break it, to keep Caleb's love and memories alive. At Brood Awakening, Caleb's face was different, haunted, determined. Ethan, he said before Ethan could speak, I dreamed about you all night. The alley, the car, us. Ethan's heart stopped. You're remembering everything, he said, voice trembling. Caleb nodded. It's like I've lived this day 100 times. Tell me how to stop it. Ethan pulled him outside, away from the counter, and spilled the truth every loop, every death, every moment of love. Caleb listened, his hand gripping Ethan's like a lifeline. They abandoned the coffee shop, heading to the lake. Caleb's memories were sharp, now flashes of their kisses, their talks, the alley. I've loved you, he said, voice breaking. I didn't know it, but I've always loved you. Ethan's tears fell as he kissed Caleb, the world fading to just them. We'll break this, Ethan promised. Together. They spent the day piecing together the loop's rules, searching for a way out. Caleb suggested writing notes, leaving clues for himself, but Ethan shook his head. I've tried. They vanish. Caleb's eyes flashed with defiance. Then we make memories too strong to erase. They carved their initials into a tree by the lake, a small act of rebellion against the loop's erasure. Caleb sketched Ethan again, his hand steady, his drawings filled with love. As night fell, Ethan's dread returned, but Caleb was resolute. We face the alley, he said. It's where the loop tries to break us. Let's break it instead. Ethan nodded, his heart swelling with love and fear. They walked to the alley, hand in hand, the city's hum a distant echo. The car came, headlights glaring, but they were ready. They dodged together, falling into each other's arms as the car sped past. Caleb's laugh was triumphant. We did it, he said, kissing Ethan fiercely. But Ethan felt the loop's pull, the air growing heavy. It's not over, he whispered. Caleb's face hardened. Then we keep fighting. I won't forget you, Ethan. Not anymore. They held each other, rain soaking them, As the loop reset, Ethan woke at 6 a.m. But Caleb's promise burned bright. The end was near, could feel it. Ethan woke at 6 a.m. Caleb's vow, I won't forget you, a fire in his chest. The loop was crumbling. Caleb's memories now a tide against its walls. This had to be the final loop. The one where love won. At Brood Awakening, Caleb didn't wait for Ethan to speak. I know you, he said, eyes blazing. I remember everything, the lake, the alley, your voice. Ethan's tears fell as he grabbed Caleb's hand. Then let's end this, he said. Caleb nodded. His jaw set. Tell me how. Ethan didn't know, but he felt the loop's end was in their love, their defiance. They left the coffee shop, the city alive around them. Caleb led Ethan to the tree they'd carved their initials into, his fingers tracing the letters. This is real, he said. You're real. Ethan kissed him, pouring every loop's pain and love into it. They spent the day reclaiming their story, revisiting the pier, the bookstore, the rooftop garden. Caleb's memories were solid now, no longer fragments. He recited Whitman, his voice steady, and Ethan's heart soared. They were breaking through. As night approached, Ethan's fear mingled with hope. The alley, Caleb said, his voice firm. It's where we end it. Ethan nodded, trusting him. They walked to the alley, hand in hand, the city fading to a hum. The car came, headlights blinding, but they moved as one, dodging it with ease. They fell together, laughing, alive. But the loop's pull lingered. Ethan felt a tremor in the air. It's not enough, he said, voice breaking. Caleb's eyes were fierce. Then we give it everything. He pulled Ethan close, their foreheads touching. I love you, Ethan. No loop can take that. Ethan sobbed, kissing him. I love you too. Always. They stayed in the alley, refusing to run. The air shimmered, the loop's grip weakening. Caleb's memories held firm, his love a shield. As midnight struck, the world didn't reset. The rain stopped, the city quiet. Ethan's breath caught. Did we? Caleb smiled, tears in his eyes. We did. The loop was broken. They walked out of the alley, hand in hand, into a tomorrow that was theirs. Ethan's heart was whole, no longer shattered, because Caleb remembered every moment, every truth. Love had won, and they were free.